Hello. Hello. Hello, everyone. It says it's starting here. Let's check it out. Okay. Well, welcome to today's webinar. We are live and we are welcoming you for Managing Your Executive's Day. The conversation continues. As you may have known, we had a little bit of technical difficulty last week and we're able to recover the program and go ahead and go through with the scheduled webinar. So today we're continuing the conversation with Joan Burge, and we're very excited to be doing that and hosting this particular topic on Boss's Day, which is today. Welcome everyone as you're joining us. Irvine, California, Kansas City, Harrisburg, Tacoma, Atlanta, Summers, New York, Vallejo, California. Welcome. Thank you for coming in. And before I turn the program over to Joan, just a couple logistics before our Q&A with Joan today. You can submit your questions anytime during the webinar. I just got a notice that said failed to go live. Hosting
No.
publicly. Hopefully this is working. Are you able to see us? Give us a heads up out there if you are. It says live, post publicly. All right. Okay. So before we begin, just a couple of logistics. We're back live, it looks like. There is no handout today. You can submit questions anytime during the webinar using the chat box, and you will receive access to the recording. If you're having any technical trouble, you will get the recording, and if you have to jump off or you're not able to make the whole event, you will get the recording at the end of the webinar today. So as I mentioned, there are no handouts. I'm going to go ahead and introduce Joan. Great. I'm getting a lot of yes, we can see you. That's positive feedback there. Yay. We're excited. It's been a crazy couple of weeks. We always seem to get conference gremlins right before the big event, and trying to host a webinar in October was no exception. So, Joan, I'm going to introduce you real quickly and get you started because I know you have a lot of questions to go through with the group today. Joan is the founder and CEO of Office Dynamics, and she has been training administrative professionals for the last 25 years, and that is why we're doing these free webinars. We are celebrating our 25th anniversary with a free webinar every single month. Joan has been passionate about the administrative profession for long before founding Office Dynamics, and she has created this business in an untapped niche, overcoming monumental obstacles, including managers' attitudes and prejudices and stereotypes and about executive assistants in the administrative profession. So that's why she's dedicated herself to inspiring excellence and encouraging administrative professionals to reach for the stars. And today we are going to continue that conversation about partnership and the struggle that we as the profession are facing when it comes to partnering with our executives and managing their day to the best of our abilities. So Joan, welcome.
Hi, yay. I am, I'm just so happy to be here, and I'm so happy you could see us. And yeah, last week was crazy insane. And the technology, it's just strange because we've been using that platform all year and never had a problem like we did last week. But I'm glad and thankful that so many of you are understanding. I know as assistants, those things happen. So anyways, I'm not going to take a lot of time because we've got to dig in, but I also wanted to say it's awesome. I see we have people from Ireland, Greece, Argentina have jumped on, so thank you very, very much. So yes, our webinar, it was so robust last week, and the responses we got to a survey Jasmine had sent out, which I'll tell you a little bit about quickly in case you don't remember, that I thought we have to continue this conversation. There is just too much to talk about when it comes to assistants and what they struggle with their executives and just that whole partnership relationship thing. So I am excited to continue our conversation. To give you a quick little background in case you don't know about what we talked about last week, is prior to the Managing Your Executive's Day webinar, Jasmine had sent out a survey We got 700 responses, 150 pages of feedback. And the question was, what is your biggest struggle with your executive? So finally, I have, I think, made it through all 150 pages of feedback. And what I want to do today, I'm looking at my notes so I don't forget to tell you anything. I want to be able to go through as many questions that were submitted in that feedback, as well as the comments many of those assistants made, as well as the questions we got on our webinar last week that I wasn't able to respond to. And I know you are going to relate to probably 80% of what I'm going to talk about today. Remember, this is a conversation. So please talk to us through that chat box, talk with each other. And if you have any great ideas or tips for our attendees as I bring up these subjects, please go ahead and share with each other. These are in no particular order. I just started creating the list. And so first of all, what I want to say is, out of those 700 survey respondents, there were so many similar comments. There was a lot of overlap as far as the struggle, even though they worded it differently, but it really was similar. And so what I did is I narrowed it down. 95% of the struggles of 700 administrative professionals, and you're probably in this group, are the following. Number one, the biggest struggle is still communication. 95% of what I read as far as your struggles fell under communication. Now, communication is huge. I could spend 5 days with you just talking about communication and we wouldn't cover everything. So it's a big piece, but it is also the most important piece of your relationship. And I'm going to respond with some specifics as I go through this, the Q&A today. The second one that was very popular, the struggle, had to do with managing your executives' calendars. How many of you can relate to that? And, you know, calendars are just crazy today. And a lot of the comments I would see were things like, oh, my executive runs from 7 in the morning till 5 o'clock at night, never takes a breath, goes from meeting to meeting. And, you know, there are ways you can help with the calendar, but I agree, it is a struggle. The third one, the struggle was getting time with your executive. So that's another huge area, which I'm going to address throughout this webinar today. But I will also tell you, it is probably the most critical piece, because you run your executive's life. And there's no one more important on their team than you. And they should be making time to be with you and talk with you and discuss priorities. And so I'm going to really talk about that because it's something I'm quite passionate about and want to give you some ideas of how to help you. And then the fourth struggle had to do with last minute rush. A lot of the assistants were saying that my executive knows about these things way out, but I don't find out until the day before. Well, I hate to admit it, but I'm kind of privy to that once in a while too. I'm guilty of that, but I know what happens and why that happens. However, Jasmine and I have specific processes in place to alleviate that. We have daily huddles, we have quarterly meetings where we put aside 2 hours, and I'm going to share some of that with you throughout the webinar. So as I looked at these 150 pages of problems or struggles and the questions that we had last week, the answers to most of these struggles are the following. And I'm going to give them to you short and to the point. So get your laptop ready or get your pens ready. And I'm not going to go into detail, but I want to give you these quick answers. There are 2, 4, 6, 8 of them. The answers to these problems are: the assistant needs to learn to give upward feedback. Assistants are not going in and having the conversations they need to have with their executives. They are sitting there and taking whatever their executive throws at them. And this is something I've been teaching assistants for 25 years. This is something I did as an assistant over 20 years, having the courage to give that upward feedback to your boss. Because one thing, from an executive's perspective, if they don't know that they're hindering your job or slowing you down, they'll continue to give you what they're giving you. In other words, don't expect someone's behavior to change if you haven't said anything to them. My favorite phrase is, people will continue to treat you as you allow them to. So as long as you're not saying anything to your executive, they're going to keep going about their business. The second answer, assistants need to be proactive. Again, when I look at some of these comments about what the struggles are, I think, oh my gosh, you just need to take the lead. You need to be proactive. You need to come up with solutions and present those to your executive. So a lot of these things can be resolved by you giving upward feedback, by being proactive. The third is to take the initiative. Don't wait until your executive, gives you bits and pieces of information, or until your executive gives you more detail. Take the initiative to get the detail. Because one thing, I can tell you from being on the other side of the desk for 25 years and, working very closely with executives, is they're not thinking that they're not giving you information. They're really not. They're just so busy that they're focusing on their next meeting, they're focusing on their projects, maybe they're focusing on financials, maybe they're having issues with their manager. So they're not sitting there saying, well, what could I hide from my assistant today? They don't even realize it. So don't be afraid. Everyone's asking about the handout for this webinar. There isn't, because it's just an informal conversation with you. So I encourage you to take notes, jot down some of the key ideas, and you will also have the replay that you can come back to. And we'll also, I'll probably be blogging about several of these things as well. So let's see, the next answer to the problem, and I'd like you to think about yourself. Do you do this? And you can do it, is to be assertive. Assistants really need to be more assertive, and good executives really respect that and see you as being credible for doing that. Be persistent. Don't give up. I know some assistants have said to me, well, I've tried having daily meetings, or I've tried having weekly meetings with my executive, and they kind of brush me off. And so that's the end of it. You really have to be persistent. When I was an assistant, I was persistent. If it's something I really believed in and I knew was going to be good for me, or good for me and my executive, or good for my department, I didn't give up at the first no, or the second no, or the third no. So you have to think about, how can you approach it differently? Are you tapping into your executive's communication style? Do you have all the facts? Did you do your due diligence? Is it logical what you're telling them? So there's a lot you have to put into it. Let's see, we have 3 more. So answers to the most common struggles is what I'm talking about right now. Thank you for the Happy Bosses Day, Minnie. I greatly appreciate it. And that is to make recommendations and provide solutions. If you see that things aren't working, or because your executive isn't communicating with you and that's creating problems, you need to be able to provide a solution and really say, here's what's happening, here's the domino effect of that, and here's what I recommend we do. Again, they're so busy, they just don't have the time, and they just don't think about those things. The next, I really like this statement, and I've heard assistants use this. is to say, I think we can make this relationship better by X, Y, Z. In other words, again, taking that initiative and providing how you think you can make it better. And again, a good executive is going to want that. And even if you have a great relationship, Jasmine and I have an awesome relationship. We worked together for 9 years, but we're still always striving for better processes. We're trying to change with the times. As our business grows, we have to change the way we do things. Like Jasmine says, we've got conference in a week and a half, and it gets absolutely crazy around here. So we're always looking for ways to improve. And the last tip, and the answer to your struggles, be persuasive. Learn persuasion skills. I teach persuasion skills in our world-class assistant program. We teach it in our Star Achievement Series program. Assistants do not see themselves as salespeople. So you've got to, learn how to really persuade your executives. Get them to understand what you need. Communicate your expectations. And throughout this webinar, we'll talk about what happens brush you off, okay? Because I know some of you have tried and you get very frustrated. All right, so let's start going through the questions that I was asked or the comments. So here's one, and again, see if you can relate to these. And if you have suggestions, put them in the chat box. Let's see, we've got one. What was number 7, Joanne wanted to know? So I'll run through those really quick. The answers to all the struggles. Assistant need to give upward feedback is number 1. Number 2 was be proactive. Number 3, take the initiative. Number 4, be assertive. Number 5, be persistent. Number 6, provide solutions. Number 7, oh, I missed this one. Oh, present new ideas. So put that on your list. Number 8, say, I think we can make this relationship better by. And then number 9 was to be persuasive. So here's something I saw in the survey. When I asked my supervisor, is this a good time to meet? He tells me, come back an X minutes later, but eventually he disappears for meetings. So my response for that is you don't ask if this is a good time, because there will never be a good time. And they'll always say yes. So I know you're being courteous, and that is so wonderful. But what you want to say instead is this a good time? You would say, Joan, I need to meet with you for 10 minutes because I need some answers for you to work on my priority items today. Or Joan, I need 10 minutes of your time. And you sit down as you're saying that. So you don't stand in the doorway and say, is this a good time to meet? Of course I'm gonna say, well, not really. But you take the lead and let them know you need to meet with them, and let them know why. Maybe you need clarification on something. Maybe you've got to get more information from them. Maybe you need an answer to something. Again, take more control. You have the ability to do that. You are powerful, more powerful than you think, but you do have to do it in the right way. Okay, the next one. These two kind of go hand in hand. How do you manage up to 3 or 4 executives that are very busy execs and you support them virtually? And then someone else asked similarly, what is your opinion on remote assistants supporting multiple executives? One is, I think it's really hard. I think it's very hard to support virtually. I know that's the world today. But when you're in the office and you're next to each other and you see each other throughout the whole day, that is really the most effective. But let's get real with this whole world of the virtual world. You have to have excellent communication skills. The managing up is to take the initiative. Again, don't wait for them to email you. Don't wait for them to send you information. You be the one to seek them out. What I would also do if they're very busy, I would put together a Word document and be very organized in what I need, be very concise in what I need. I wouldn't ramble on. I would say, here's what I need from you, here's what I need answers to. And the word need is very good. Not, well, it would be really nice if you could answer these questions for me. Do you see the difference? Versus, I need this information so I can move forward. So be concise. Also, try to schedule regular telephone meetings. In other words, I do have a large virtual staff and people who do have to report into me. So it's great if you could say once a week, let's talk at this particular time. This is our meeting, and we're going to quickly go through our items and status updates and what you need from me, have a chance to clarify. And I just want to encourage you that I know everyone says their executive is very busy. Well, you know, so are mine. And we just overuse that word. The idea is we're very busy and there's more need for us to clarify and talk about what is being done so there isn't overlap, there isn't rework, we don't miss things, and that's what you need to get your executives to see. And also, please, you know, for your benefit, I know you see they're very busy, and that is very respectful of you. But also know that you've got to have some of that time. Let's go on to the next one. I like this one. What to do when your executive does not want a lot of help, which is very common today. You know, so many executives are independent, they're technically savvy, and they'll tell me, they'll say, oh, I don't need to bother my assistant, and they feel really good about it because they're independent. But the idea is a lot of executives are working on things they should not be working on. They're doing a lot of administrative work, and that's not where they impact the business. So the answer to that is you insert yourself in. Again, you don't wait for them to delegate. You don't wait for them to ask for your assistance. You watch what they're doing. You observe. Are there regular reports they do? So for example, when I was an assistant and an executive I worked for, his name was John. This was 17 years into my career even. And he was fairly independent because he never had a great assistant. Yet he was this huge, you know, level of executive within the company. He was at a very high level. And so I noticed that he did this report regularly and involved getting numbers and such. And he had to do it, I think, daily. We had to do that report. And so we were a manufacturing company. And I noticed after a while what he was doing, the time it took him. And I said, John, I can save you X amount of hours a week if you'll teach me how to do that report. And therefore, by doing that, you can spend your time on things that are more important. So if you'll just spend an hour with me, if you'll teach me where to get the numbers, how do I calculate, how do I put that report together, I will save you, let's say, 15 hours a month. Now, what could you be doing that is more important, you know, with that 15 hours than having to put this report together, which actually it was just a very basic report. So I want to encourage you to insert yourself into it, but that takes being very observant. You have to watch what they do, you have to listen to what they do, and, you know, see where you can assist. The other one is demonstrate what you can do. Don't wait. Simple example, let's say that your executive works on their own PowerPoint slides and you know something's coming up. Well, without them asking you, you create some PowerPoint slides and show them to your executive. Show your executive what you're capable of doing. And then they will start to rely on you, and then they will leverage your talents, and you'll both be very happy. And again, I could probably spend a lot more time on each of these questions, but I have 3 pages of them. So I'm going to keep going. I'm giving you some of my immediate quick responses. The next one, I like this. How can I start teaching my executive to be a business partner? Well, that's about a 3-day workshop. But what I will tell you is slowly. And that again was the executive I was just telling you about. His name was John. He had never had a great executive assistant partner, but I had 7 years of experience being a great strategic partner with my executives. So little by little, I would teach John just day by day, and I would make suggestions to him that, John, here's why we should meet every morning for 10 to 15 minutes. Here are the benefits of that. Now, I think on our website, we have articles, we have blogs all about that. Plus, in a little while, I'm going to talk to you about a new guide I announced last week that is being released right now as we speak. It's an operational manual. Again, I'm going to tell you more about this in a little bit. But now we do have a tool to help engage executives in teaching them how to be partners with you. The other idea with the partnership is to talk to your executive, to try to get 10 minutes of their time and let them know that you want to be a business partner. And the reason being is if you become that partner, you will learn more about the scope of their work. And if you know more about the scope of their work, you're going to be able to be proactive. You're going to be able to take more things off their plate so they're freed up to concentrate on what they want to concentrate on. Again, start teaching them little by little. Like I said, you kind of start with the huddles. Also, if you, it's whatever you want to see in them, you start to do, yourself. So if you want them to trust you, you have to really show how you trust them. I'm trying to think of what are some of the things I did with John. One was, again, taking over some of his project. I also really taught him the benefits of having daily huddles, so we started to do that. I did little things for John. Sometimes I would just write a Post-it note and place it on his desk, like if he was giving a big presentation, and I would put a little Post-it on his desk, knock them dead, John, or good luck, John. Or if he came back from a presentation, he did a great job, I would say, awesome job. I really liked how you handled that. And even though that seems small, that's how you start to build a relationship. That's how they start to see you as more than just a task doer and order taker. The next one, it says, how do you manage your time with your executive when he has 3 support staff? That means each of them will take a large chunk of his time. Yes, that is true. So again, my executive, John, he had 5 direct reports, and he was head over a 900-person facility. So it does take a chunk of his time. John would meet with his 5 direct reports every week. It was either, I think, a half hour or it was an hour. And that was fine, but I still met with him every day because I was the most important person for him to meet with. So again, it's, and let's see, you have, how do you manage your time with your executive? Even though they have all these support staff, again, you still have to get your time with them. And then just managing your day effectively. Make sure you're always focusing on your A priorities. Know what your executive's top 3 priorities for today. In other words, if I get nothing else done today, Mr. or Ms. Executive, what is it that we're focusing on and you want to have accomplished for today? So that's how you manage your time with your, your executive overall. And I could interpret this another way too. If you're saying managing your time when you're with your executive, that's different. Then if you do sit and meet with your executive, you need to be organized, you need to be concise, you need to have your notes together and go through that list very quickly with your executive. I'm going to keep going. It's 10:30 already. Looks like you're having great conversations. I wish I could be reading all of them, but I'm trying to get through our list here. Let me go on to the next page. This is a good one. I don't know if any of you could relate to this. It says, she said, or the assistant said, it could be a he, hard to be organized when you're totally overworked. Well, yes and no, because I will tell you, organization takes place in your brain, seriously. If you go out and you really look at the brain, the left side of the brain is very logical thinking, it's structured thinking, it's order. The right side of the brain, the kind of thinking that takes place, is freestyle, gut feel, intuitive, doesn't like order, doesn't like structure. So people like me who are more left brain thinkers, it's very simple and easy to be organized. It's a no-brainer. So it, first of all, it does happen in your brain, for real. It doesn't matter how many hours you work. I put in tons of hours every single day, 60 to 70 hours a week. I travel. I have 100 things on my plate, and I'm still organized. So I just want you to understand, I appreciate how you feel, but also wanting you to know that for some people, it's naturally easier to be organized, and for others, it's a struggle. And therefore, it's really important you learn techniques to be organized. We did a great webinar, and it's still available on our website. We did it earlier this year called Get Control of Your Day. I believe that was the name, Jasmine, right? Get Control of Your Day. So that's an awesome webinar to listen to. Secondly, I have is you organize your day as you go along. So when I do one-on-one coaching with assistants, I go sit at their workstations. I actually go on site, and I see stuff all over their desks, all over. And I'll ask them, and they just got all these stacks, and things come in, and they just stack it up and stack it up. And then they'll say, well, I'll get back to it later. And then they've got to go through 20 things to figure out what they're doing. You organize as you go along. So if something comes in, immediately decide what is the next action you have to take. Is this something you have to discuss with your executive? Is this a phone call you have to make? Can this be put aside until next week? Is this something that should be delegated? And you're organizing as you're going through your day. Sure, if you wait till the end of the day and now you have things all over your desk, that's going to be very aggravating. And you're not going to actually know what your true priorities are as you go through the day. Let's go on to, there's one here. People were asking about operating guides and book, and what's your new book about, and the new workbook. And so Jasmine, I don't know if you could put a slide up or not, but at last week's webinar, I did announce our new operating guide. This is a manual that answers all these problems executives and assistants have been talking about for years, many of which have not changed. So this is based on 25 years of research. This is based on my 25 years of coaching over 150 executive and assistant teams. And it boils down to people and processes. So no, it is not a book where you're just going to pick it up and you're going to read through it and take your highlighter and just read a lot of ideas. It's an actual operating manual. And so for, I'll give you a quick highlight of how it comes together. There's two parts to this guide. The first part focuses on people. So if you're going to have a great partnership, you and your executive have to have the people side of the relationship. You are people, and they need to see you as a person with feelings and challenges and frustrations and dreams, and you need to see them that way, even though they don't seem human to you sometime. Believe me, executives have feelings. They are frustrated, they are scared, they have issues going on with their family. They're nervous about the stock market. They've got to report to a board of directors and stockholders. So there's the people part of your relationship, and that includes communication. And the second part, which is the largest part of our book, has to do with your processes. There are common processes that all teams use. This is the information I've collected for years. And those are everything from your processes for your email to how you handle your follow-up systems to your project management. I'm looking through the guide to give you an idea of some of these. The daily huddles, what do you do? What do you say? But what we've done with this guide is come up with conversation points for you. So in other words, I'm saying here are the best practices. Here's what you should embrace. But you need to have conversations with each other. So I'm kind of trying to get it in the screen there. You need to talk. You need to customize this for your relationship. And so I put in points. So if you're in project management, you and your executive should sit down and discuss, you know, what is the defined goal of the project? What are the deliverables? Who owns the project? What are the deadlines? When and how are we going to check in? Who else is involved? What is the established budget? So those are the kinds of conversations you and your executive should be having. So in answer to, as far as the guide, it's an operating manual, something you would pull out and you two would use every single day, but also customize it. And there's more information on our website, so Jasmine will share that at the end. Let's go on to the questions. A question was asked, are you saying I need to be on a personal level with the executive? So I must have said something about having a personal connection with your executive. Yes, if you're going to have a strategic partnership, there's a way to get personal without being personal. But I have assistants who have told me they worked for this top executive for 5 years. They run their entire life, and their executive doesn't even know about them or their family or what their hobbies are. So yes, they should know about you, and you should know about them. That's what builds the relationship. That's what takes it beyond just two people coming in and getting the job done. That's what makes you happy as an assistant, you know, being able to have that. And I experienced that with 3 executives during my 20-year career. And it was absolutely, you know, fabulous. And knowing about their family and knowing about their kids, and you know, I knew if their wife had a major illness or something. It's just knowing their likes and dislikes. So yes, I am encouraging that. It's just you go about it in the right, you know, the right way. Let's see what's next. I love my boss, but sometimes he is very harsh with other employees needlessly. Is there any way to approach this? Yes, it goes back to the upward feedback. So you would want your executive to know maybe if they're a little brusque with others, because maybe they don't even realize it. And if you're looking out for your executive and wanting him or her to look their very best, it would definitely be worth a conversation. So I would encourage you to do that. I see it's 10:39 and I'm not even through page 2, but I'm going to keep going, and then we're going to stop about a quarter of so that we can look at some of your comments. Let me see what I have next. There's so many good ones in here. Keeping priorities and goals in sync as both the executive and EA grow their roles and take on more responsibility in the office and leadership. So I could see where that definitely is a struggle. If your roles are changing, if it's getting busier at work, the company's changing, that goes back to communication. And that's why you have to communicate on a regular basis. You have to clarify who's doing what as new responsibilities come in. You want to be able to talk about the processes you're going to use, clarification, and also prioritize. So as I said, a lot of this goes back to communication and making sure you have the dialogue. Now, let me clarify that, because when I say that, assistants will say, I communicate with my executive all the time. We email each other back and forth all the time. That is not what I mean. I am saying you have to, and all good teams do this, communicate face to face or on the telephone. So if they're very busy, you know, I know some executives, while they're on their way into the office and they're driving, that's when they'll have their daily huddle with their assistant. Something I did all the time as an assistant, we met face to face, and I loved it, because once your day begins, you're off in one direction, they're off in another direction, and you rarely connect, or you communicate, but it's more of do this, do that. Did you make that call? What about my trip? You know, did you book that next meeting? What did so-and-so say? You're not having purposeful conversation. So what I'm talking about is having purposeful conversation. What is coming up in the next 2 weeks, 3 weeks? What's coming up in the next quarter? What needs to get ready? Who's going to be involved? What are your resources? What about the budget? What are the priorities? There are 100 things you could be discussing. So if you get nothing more out of this webinar than this message, it's you've got to have these conversations with your executives, and you need to be proactive and be confident and get what you need so you can do your job better, which ultimately makes your executive shine. All right, let's see what else. We've got understanding their vision, priorities, goals, and relationships. So again, this was another struggle, and it goes back to communication, but they're not going to just come in and say, hey, why don't we sit down and let me tell you all about my vision, Jasmine, you know? Now, I will do that because I understand an assistant needs that, but most executives are not going to do that. Again, it's up to you to say, you know, if Beverly's your executive, Beverly, I'm really interested in being the best executive assistant and partner I can for you. And I'd like to understand what your vision is for this year, or what's your vision for our area or your department. Talk to them, get them to talk to you. And don't ask yes and no questions. You wouldn't say, well, could you make some time to share your vision with me or talk to me about this? Well, I'm really busy. I'm not sure if I could fit you in my schedule. It's more of, I really want to understand what's in your head. I want to understand your vision, your goals, your priorities, your expectations, so I can be a great partner for you and increase your productivity by 25%. And most good executives are not going to ignore that if they're a good executive. Yes, you have some that will and they don't get it, but the good ones definitely will. The funnel graphic, Jasmine, let's see, is there a way we could share the funnel graphic? So this is we're going to show you, this is a graphic that is in my Executive and Assistants Working in Partnership guide. This is what should occur. And let me backtrack for just a moment. In the old days, I hate to talk about the old days, but you know what? There was something good and great about being an assistant in the old days, and we didn't have technology because everything crossed our desk. We had our hands on things. We saw things. We knew what was going on in our executives' lives. Today, because of the technology, which I love, information is all out there. So if you look at the visual, executives get information via their hallway conversations, emails, reading, when they're at meetings. via the internet. They're doing their research. They get information via text, instant messages. They come in through phone calls. Well, what's happening is a lot of executives, thank you for the Happy Bosses Day, Janet. The executives are taking care of it themselves. They're responding on their own. They're not including their assistants, and their assistants don't know what's going on. Or they find out at the last minute, before it's happening. Assistants are embarrassed because they don't know what's going on. They can't do their job. So this is what it should look like. All the information is coming in, to your executive from all these different vehicles and probably even more. They should funnel it to you. You're the funnel. You collect, you then assess, and then you funnel it out. You take action. Are you going to personally handle it? Do you need to file it? Are you going to delegate to staff or external, another department, a vendor? Maybe you need to make a phone call. Maybe you need to add it to the calendar. Maybe you're going to assign it to your follow-up. This is how you would streamline and increase your productivity. And, unfortunately, I wish we had your executives on these webinars because they're the ones who need to hear this. And next year, if any of you could get your executives to come on a webinar for even 15 minutes, I will be happy to host it. So this is the ideal, and this would help you with all these ideas that I'm seeing. I'm not getting the information. I don't know what the goals are. I don't know about, what to expect. Let's go on. I guess maybe I could take two more. Oh, there's so many. I'm trying to see. Okay, here's maybe a good one. Many of you assistants can relate to. So the assistant struggle is getting information from meetings that she's not in. How many of you could relate to that, right? And then helping the executive determine, and what I could still help with with to-dos, even if I wasn't in the meeting. I bet many of you feel that way. So the answer, if you can't get in on any of the meetings, first of all, is to have a post-meeting wrap-up with your executive. Even if it's 3 minutes as they're walking onto the next meeting, and not where they have to tell you about the whole meeting, but you might say, Jim, were there any action steps that came out of that meeting or action items that I need to know about and follow up on, or that I need to put on your calendar? Have your pad ready to go. Even if you have to walk down the hall with them to the next meeting. I did that many times as an assistant with my executive. I had my notepad. Of course, now today you probably have your mobile device or your iPad. And I would say, what were the hot items that were in that meeting? What are requiring actions? What things do you want me to follow up on? What things do you want your staff to follow up on, and get it quickly? If not, then maybe by the next day or 2 days later. And if you're having your daily huddles, that's the perfect time for you to get that information. We had one on here, they're struggling with cultural differences. And I know I have some very good assistant friends who have worked for someone of another culture where women are not assertive, don't take leadership roles. And one particular assistant who was an awesome assistant, and she took the leadership role. She had a very difficult time. So I would say continue to take the lead, continue to assert yourself, but also be very cognizant, and maybe figure out your verbiage and what you could say where they'll be more accepting and open to what you want to do. We have another one. Executive is too vague when communicating via email, and then takes forever to respond when you ask for clarification. He travels often. A lot of times it's international. He shoots off requests that are time sensitive, but doesn't give me enough information to follow up. So my thought on that one is, have you talked to your executive? And not just in a way of, well, it'd be nice to get more information. It's really where you sit and you have quiet time with your executive And again, you get 10 minutes of their time and you let them know what this creates. It's showing them what I call the negative domino effect of their behavior. And then you want to make recommendations on how they should work with you. I guess I need to stop, Jasmine. It's 10:15 and I still have more, so I don't know. We'll have to figure out what we're going to do next.
Yeah, it's actually 10:50. Before we get into the Q&A, I just want to show you Happy Bosses Day. Look what arrived in the mail. They're here. They're here. They just got here. There's a bunch of boxes sitting outside my window in the front office. So
yay!
These are the new guides, and they're here. So this is our first shipment. Those of you who heard the October 1st announcement, that was a pre-release announcement. So now the guides are in our hands and we can start shipping them out to our pre-orders. So we'll talk about that in a little bit, but I want to get to some of the questions because we did get a lot of really great questions throughout the webinar. I'm going to start with Erica's question because she asks, and I think a lot of assistants do struggle with this, how can you be confident without coming across as cocky as an assistant when you're trying to get these meetings with your boss and have these discussions with them, Joan?
Well, there's a couple different, well, one, let me just answer it. It is your tone of voice. So one thing, you want to have a confident tone of voice. To not appear cocky, it's going to be the words you choose to use. And it is not a simple answer. This is something, again, I spent a day teaching assistants, 2 days, 3 days. So I would want to encourage you to go out, you know, on the internet, do more research on this and go to our website because we have several articles. But one is you come in with your confident body language, you know, standing tall, and you use the verbiage again. I'm trying to think if I could give you an example. Like, well, I would be able to get my job done better if I had more information from you. That's cocky, right? Versus, Jim, I'm trying to complete I want to finish this project for you in the time that you requested, and I need to have more information from you. I need to know A, I need to know B, I need to know C. And it's just, you know, it's just very simply stated. And that's it. And one thing I want to share with you, because I noticed a comment in the box about men and women and seeing things differently. We have a lot of female executives out there. Well, you know what? They're tough. They can take it. When women have achieved a certain level, they are resilient, and you don't have to worry about cushioning every little thing. In fact, executives, male or female, prefer you just get to the point, tell me what you want and tell me what you need, and let's get on with it. So if you want to be effective with your executive, you have to do executive speak. You know, that's something else I teach in our STAR program. Use the words they use. Talk about flawless execution. If you want to have flawless execution in our department, Jim, I need to have weekly huddles with you to get clarification. So be confident again. Tell them what you need. They want to know that. And sometimes some executives are just sitting there waiting for you. And they figure, you're not going to ask, so I'm not going to say anything. They're just kind of waiting. So I want to encourage you, yes, that's true, you know, different needs sometimes. So learn how to speak that language, because many of you do work for males, but knowing too that executives want things short, concise, be organized, be ready, and tell them what you need.
Great. Great. I have 2 questions here that I want to address really quickly, Joan. Let's see here. Nastra. And I believe someone else echoed her question about the planner that I use to keep organized. And I used to use a Franklin Covey planner, but now I like something that kind of matches my style, because I do carry it around with me everywhere. I like it to be compact so it fits in my bag, and I kind of have a large bag, so this will fit in there. But I have the Kate Spade planner, and it's this right here, and they come in different designs and stuff. But basically, I like something with a full month view and then week by week on the rest of the pages. And that's where I like to keep my top priorities written down. But I also have them in my digital calendar as well. And but I like to have a hard copy list just so that I can strike it off. I love to do that little check mark, strike it off when it's done, and really be able to look back and see, okay, these were the things that I accomplished that week, and maybe this was outstanding and it carried over. Some of you may like apps, digital apps, that kind of thing, and there are a lot of different apps that you can do the same thing with, just depending on whether you're a digital or a hard copy person. So that's what I use for that. And you can't see me. Oh, I've got Joan on the, there I am. Sorry about that. I'm trying to answer questions and do the administrator stuff. So sorry, I'll hold it up again. This is my Kate Spade planner that I use. And I think I just got it off their website, and they have their 2016 planners out now if you're interested in getting one of those. But that's what I do. Yep, sorry about that if you're on the chat and you didn't see the planner. It's just the Kate Spade brand planner. I don't know what they call it, but that's what I use to answer that question. And to answer the next question, Suzanne asked, if you didn't order the pre-release guide, can you still get the guide and the total bundle at the same time? Definitely need the whole bundle. What Suzanne is talking about is the bundle that we offered last week, and we had a 24-hour giveaway with the bundle. We extended it because of all of the craziness that accompanied that last week. So we do still have that, and we will offer it. We're going to get to that just in a few minutes here. But yes, Suzanne, short answer is yes, and we'll explain what that is to everybody in a moment. Joan, so let's see here. Selena asks, her executive never has anything to discuss during their one-on-one. What's the deal? Shouldn't the executive also have something to discuss?
Oh my, yeah, they should. But I think, so what I'm going to refer to a moment, really quick to help you, is for you to bring up the discussion points. So in the operating guide, I have a whole list of what you would discuss. These are things that my executives used to discuss with me. These are the things Jasmine and I discuss. So what you could do is, if you get that operating guide, you'd have that all there. You could also create a very quick one sheet with it. So here's what I would say to my executive. I would, if they say, well, I don't have anything for you. Okay, well, what about number one, daily calendars? Let's go through your daily calendar. Let's confirm. Okay, you have a 10 o'clock meeting with so-and-so. Do you have everything you need for that person? So you start asking questions. Another thing, voicemails and instant messages. Those are things that Jasmine and I talk about. If I want her to handle one for me, maybe I got a voicemail and I want Jasmine to just handle it. Another discussion point for you and your executive, ask about any email communications. So you would say, was there anything in your email or in your inbox that I can handle for you, that I can respond to for you? There's visitors, department issues, status updates, special projects, upcoming travel. So that I would sit there with my little checklist, and that will help trigger his mind, because if he can't think of something, this might help trigger his thinking.
Okay.
Oh, we got 2 minutes off.
Yes. Well, I think we should take that time to address the bundle. Everyone's asking about it. First, if you purchased the bundle before the webinar and got the pre-release, if you email me, jfreeman@officedynamics.com, and let me know you were on the webinar, you pre-purchased it, you would like the bundle, I'll take care of you. So do that. And then for those of you who haven't ordered it yet, here is what we're talking about. And let me just do the slide share here. Start screen share. Here is the bundle that we're talking about. This is the Build a Better Partnership bundle. So this has the brand new guide, Executive and Assistants Working in Partnership. In addition, we have, for anybody who orders, 3 free bonuses that are being offered, and those will be sent to everyone as soon as we ship the guides out as a note, like, here, your guide's on the way, here's your bundles. That's the comprehensive business plan, travel planning checklist. It is the Gatekeepers Guide, and that's for fielding callers and visitors for safety and just protecting your executive's calendar. And you'll also get our executive video series And let's see here. We also have, in addition to this super fantastic bundle that's already a great value, we're adding on until the end of the business day today, the Get Things Done and Control Your Day webinar that Joan mentioned earlier. That's a $49 value. And the Managing Your Executive's Day video on demand training with Joan, which is a $99 value. So all of this together is like a $250 value, and the guide is priced at $47. So $47 plus shipping and handling, and all of this will be sent to you. That is the program. I'm just going to stop the screen here. There we go. Back. So that's what it is. We'll get the link to the shopping cart for you up in just a moment here. So this offer should be displayed now. This will link you straight to the Executive and Assistants Working in Partnership Guide. Do you see the offer up there? Let's see.
I don't think.
We'll put a link in the chat as well. How about that?
Nora, the total cost of the bundle is $47, right, Jasmine?
$47,
yeah,
yes.
$47 for the whole thing. So we were just also showing you the value of some of those products that you're getting in it, but only $47 plus shipping. Yes, I agree. The executives should see these webinars. I would, like I said, I seriously would do a webinar for executives, even if it was 20 minutes. And if you can get any of your executives to come to a webinar next year, let us know, because I would love to hold it, because they're the ones who need to hear this.
Absolutely. And
not just you.
Yeah, it's a two-part relationship, and you can do as much as the assistant as you possibly can by taking these tips that Joan's giving you and putting them into action. But there is another side of the relationship, and they also need to take some ownership of that as well.
Jasmine, I don't know if I saw a question about, I think, were they asking for your email address? If you could share that again.
Yep, my email address, and I'll put it in the chat here. It's jfreeman@officedynamics.com, and that's JFREEMAN at officedynamics.com. And you're likely to have received emails from me before if you've registered for the webinar and got webinar updates or anything like that. Will these bundles be available at the conference? No, Debbie, they won't, but we will have some special things for you at conference, so stay tuned for that.
And there was another, what was the other one I saw after that? Promo codes. No promo codes, right?
Yep, no promo codes needed for this. They're just going to automatically be, it's called tagged in our system. And when you get that tag, an email will be generated and sent to you with your login credentials for the bonus programs, Get Things Done and Control Your Day, and Managing Your Executive's Day. So if you have any issues with that after your purchase, just let me know. Again, you'll have my email address, because I believe I'm the one that sends you those emails, but it'll come from jfreeman@officedynamics.com.
If they click on the link to order the guide, will they automatically get the bundle? Did you see that from Mary?
No, what was the question? If we click on the guide, okay, if we click on the link, well, you will automatically get the bundle, yes. Until the end of today, we're leaving that offer up. So you'll get the bundle if you order before the end of today. And that we'll likely be leaving it up, through midnight. So if you are on a different time zone or whatever that might be, anytime that you order today, you'll automatically be getting that bundle. No coupon code necessary.
This has been so much fun.
It is. It's been a lot of fun.
Talk to all of you for hours. I know. We all have to do our jobs and get back to work.
I know. Everybody's probably got to get back to business, and we've got to get to shipping out these guides that just came in. So thank you so much for joining us. It's Bosses Day. Make sure you let them know that you appreciate them and your relationship with them, and you're working towards making that a better partnership so that you can both be more productive. And thank you, Joan, for taking the time out of your day to share your wisdom with all of us as well.
You're welcome. It was great. Thanks to all of you so much. And have a great Friday and a good weekend. And hope to see you at next month's webinar. Bye-bye.
Bye.